You're watching Ladies in the Locker Room. We'll be right back. What's up, ladies?
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, it's been my birthday and been out celebrating with my family and thank you. First of all, before we get into what's going on, I have to share something with you guys. Today is my 1-year anniversary of having COVID. Last year on my birthday, I had COVID and I didn't know that I had it. I know that I didn't feel good, but I didn't know what it was. Back in March, no one knew what the symptoms were. So I had it, but I didn't even know I had it. I just knew I was tired and I didn't feel good. So last year on my birthday, I had COVID and I had a shoot that day. Matter of fact, Jonathan and I, we went and we shot Faith Memorial Church. And you know, God, I always say God works things out. I was actually in a booth where I worked by myself that whole day. And Jonathan was walking around, running around, taking pictures. So, and we rode in different cars. So we were not all up on top of each other, but we actually worked together that day. And all I kept saying is, oh, I got to get finished because I just cannot wait to go home and lay down. Now, I thought I had just went to Miami and overdid it because I was in Miami for my birthday.
Wow.
I was there that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I just kept getting so tired and I just didn't know why. And so what happened was my friend, Angela Nicole, who I travel with occasionally, we went to my favorite hotel, the Fontainebleau, and we went to a pool party. And it was so awesome, but it was spring break. So it was a lot of kids there. Wow. And I just remember being so tired. And she goes like, what is wrong with you? I actually fell asleep in the pool. I was sitting in the pool, kind of leaning on the edge. Just it was beautiful weather, so I was just enjoying myself. But I was just kind of leaning on the edge, and people just thought I was drunk because I just kind of.
You look very rock star doing that.
Yeah, because I just kind of nodded out on the pool, but I wasn't. I'm thinking I just kind of nodded out on the side of the pool, but I didn't know why. I just kept saying I was tired. And even so my girlfriend, she's like, Hattie, you sleep in the pool? And I'm like, oh, I'm just tired.
Back.
No, but see, and that's what people who know me know I don't drink.
Right.
So they didn't think that. They just figured, but they know I burn my candles on both ends on a regular. Yeah. I'm very well known for that. So yeah, I was just all over the place. And we got home, we did the shoot, and 20 days later, I was in bed. And I had COVID and I had it bad, but I didn't even know I had it until I had it so bad that I was in it at that point. Mm-hmm. But when I woke up this morning, I mean, for whatever reason, I woke up and the first thing I thought about was, thank you, Lord. Thank God. I lived to see another birthday. I am here because I'm so sick. I did end up going to the hospital. But by that time I was actually coming out of COVID. I went to the hospital because I had taken so much flu medicine, it started to cause my heart to flutter. So I went to the hospital because my heart was skipping a beat, not because of COVID, because by now I was coming out of COVID. And I tried a lot of home remedies because I didn't even know I had it, first of all. But then when I started to think maybe I got it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm sick, but I'm not sick enough to go to the hospital. I really was. But I thank God that I didn't because, like I said, I had it. And my 85-year-old mom had it too. And so we did have to put her in the hospital because she had a lot of underlying conditions. She had COPD because she smoked cigarettes for 50 years, high blood pressure, and diabetes. So crazy story about that. We put her in the hospital, and it was one of those situations where they actually rolled her in the hall and left her to die because of all of her underlying conditions. They didn't think they were going to be able to help her anyway. So they just pushed her in the hall and left her there. Instead of saying, well, family, you take her back home because she ain't going to make it anyway. Wow. She laid there until a doctor found her, and she was like, hey, she told my mother, this is my mother. Look, if y'all don't want to take me, send me home. My daughters will take care of me. Yeah. and so this doctor, the doctor actually found her in what was a makeshift morgue. And he was just coming to be nosy to see it for himself. And then all of a sudden, one of the almost corpses starts talking to him. And she tells him, I don't belong here. He's like, no, you don't. And
my
so
gosh.
he called the nurses and he got up. He's like, what is going on? Why is this woman in there? Then later on, it started coming out that other hospitals had done the same thing. I was watching a doctor, I believe, on one of the late night news shows, and he was saying that that was the orders that he had gotten from his chief of staff of the hospital, is you have to use the process of elimination. If they don't look like they're going to make it, just leave them sitting there and move on to somebody who is. And that's exactly what happened to my mom. But I'm proud to say that here we are in 2021, and she's well, and she's here with me today. And she made it through, and I made it through, and we fought COVID with everything we had, and we won, thank God.
Wow.
That's what I heard too. Like I people say that doctors have told them don't come back until you turn blue, and
Well,
you're just like,
unfortunately,
my God.
that's the order of triage. Unfortunately, I'm a registered nurse, and when you're in a mass event like that, you triage who you think you can help.
Yeah,
it's a sad process. I'm just being honest with y'all. I've been in a situation one time, and I cried for months because I'm too emotional for stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, they were saying like if you like, assistant living. In the beginning, they were saying like if you didn't go to like a different country, if you weren't abroad somewhere, they were like, nope, then you don't have it, and they would send people home.
Exactly. And so with me, like I said, like it was in March of last year, and it wasn't officially here yet. 1 or 2 cases were popping up. That was number one. And the other thing is I had not traveled abroad. So I did not assume that I had it. But I did. I had it. And like I said, for 20 days, I had, and now we know the symptoms, because I tell people all the time, if someone coughs or sneezes around you, like they're like, the thing about COVID is there's a few symptoms that you'll know. Number one, sometimes when you get a fever, you don't even know you have it. So you can't even say when you get a fever, because by the time you get a fever, you're knee deep in it. But there are certain things that happen to your body, like you do lose your sense of smell. And then after that, you're going to lose your sense of taste.
Oh my God.
To the point where you don't even want to eat. I didn't eat for, I think, 3 days. My sister kept trying to make me eat something, but your body just is like food, like make me gag. I just couldn't eat anything, but I wasn't thinking. I was just laying there ill. I should have kept drinking water, to the point where I got dehydrated. After I think, I don't even know how many days when I finally got out of bed. I think it was like 7 or 8 days when I finally got out of bed and I made it to the bathroom. That's how dehydrated I was. I wasn't even going to the bathroom. And if you can fathom that, I didn't even know that's why I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I just kept thinking, oh, I'm glad I don't have to go, because I don't think I can make it. But I was so dehydrated that I didn't even go to the bathroom. I finally did go to the hospital, and I did talk to 2 really brilliant nurses at the hospital in Atlanta that we call Grady. And I'm sorry, they weren't nurses, 2 brilliant female doctors who, they had questions for me. They wanted to know, what have you been doing? Because you have it, but you're coming out of it. And now you're just now coming to the doctor. To the hospital, like, why did you wait so long? Blah, blah, blah. They sent me home. It's like, whatever it is you were doing, you need to go home and keep doing that. Because you're coming out of you're on the exit end of this thing. And, I was telling them that I had, I know a lot of people. So I kept getting these videos sent to me. There was a video sent to me by there was a Jamaican man, and he was announcing, he said, there's a bad disease that's going to come across the country and abroad. And it's going to affect your nasal passage and your whole respiratory system. He said, but there are things you can do to help yourself. So the first time I got it, I didn't watch it. The second time, like this, how things start circling and on Facebook, it's like, oh, I got it already.
Right.
So about the third or fourth time I got it, I was like, oh my God, I may have this thing this guy's talking about. So what I did is I finally watched it. And I have a friend, may his soul rest in peace. He had a very massive car accident, and he passed away. But he was a homeopathic doctor.
Right.
So he used to teach me all kind of home remedies. He was always filling my head with home remedies and things like that. So one of the things that this Jamaican man was talking about was that You mix lemons, oranges, onions, sea salt, and garlic. You boil it and you inhale that into your nose and you blow it out of your mouth. Inhale it into your nose and you blow it out of your mouth. So
like a
being the
nasal type of thing.
so what it is that you actually created an all natural humidifier.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then if you've ever studied homeopathic medicine or talked to someone, they'll tell you each one of those things has a significant value.
Right.
So I knew this from my friend, in our conversation. So I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. So I had my sister to run to the store and get me this thing. And I did it like 3 times a day. And I needed it because by that time, I wasn't even able to talk as much as I'm talking now. I had my lungs were failing. So I started doing the treatment 3 times a day. I would do the treatment. I would just go ahead and breathe it, but I started getting better. It was helping me. So now I was explaining to somebody, because I had friends like, oh, I don't believe in that voodoo. I'm like,
voodoo.
It's not voodoo. I said,
food.
Not only is it food, but it's an all natural humidifier. That's it.
Right.
I said, and because your nasal passage and your lungs and your respiratory system is being attacked by this thing, this is a way to get something in there and to make you work on your lungs, because your lungs are a muscle and they need to work. So I said, but I started to be able to breathe better and talk once I started doing that. So I did that for the rest of the time once I figured it out. And it actually helped me to get my wind back. And even after I got better and the first time I got out of bed and I could walk, I was still doing it because I was so winded. I couldn't breathe half the time. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
I probably need
Like
to do that right now.
Right.
Well,
No,
speakers.
I'm sorry.
But
Well, to tell you, I have friends that are nurses who actually, what are you looking for, honey? Oh, I don't know. I have friends who are nurses and they work in the hospital. When I got well enough, I was inspired to do a Facebook Live, and I had a whole hour conversation about what I'd gone through and telling everybody what the ingredients was for this treatment. And basically he said, and this was before COVID really got out here, he said, it's going to attack your nasal passage.
Right.
It's going to attack your respiratory system. So you're breathing this, you're doing this to help keep it clear so that it doesn't get shut down. So when I explained that to them, they were doing it every day before they went to work, and they would come home and do it when they got home to make sure that nothing was able to get into their respiratory system and just attack it. And another thing I was telling my friend, I believe that's why I got so sick with COVID. As a person that's always going, I laid down. And once I did that, I was down for 20 days. I allowed it to take over my body. And I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't know that then. I didn't even know I had COVID. I just figured I need to go lay down, and that's what I did.
Well, what I found interesting is they put you on your stomach to breathe better, and so you see all these pictures of people, and they can't do that, I guess, just in the regular ER. They have to do it special because so many people have to be involved in turning them over on their stomachs and then turning them back, and so if you're in just emergency room bed, they can't do it because there's a whole process. I'm sure Felicia knows a lot more, but I was like, wow, I had no idea before all of this that on your stomach is better to open your lungs, be able to breathe more. Right. And I was always like, if I go on my stomach, I'm gonna suffocate myself, but that's not at all. I thought the opposite, but I just thought that was very interesting.
Yes, Angelique.
Hattie, for everyone that's watching, is that video still on YouTube? People can access that now?
People have still been seeing it, and they'll call me like, oh my God, you had COVID. I'm like, yes, I did.
That's great, because I'm also thinking people that have really bad allergies.
Right.
Why would it not work just well with that too, right?
That's about the same with the essential oils, because right now I have peppermint and eucalyptus going in the house because, Texas, you never know what you're going to get with the weather. So it keeps everyone's nasal passage and also helps with migraines. So I keep it going all over the entire house every day.
Good ideas.
Yeah. Very good ideas.
Well, wow, man, that's amazing. So thank God that you are here celebrating your birthday. It is amazing, and that just shows that you have so much to do. We need you here.
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh no, if Hattie had not made it through COVID, we wouldn't be here with her.
I literally opened my eyes this morning and I was like, thank you, God. I lived to see another birthday. And I just started, I woke up saying thank you, because I was so sick. I was so sick. And this is the other thing I wanted to share with you guys that I share with everybody. COVID is not all about blowing your nose, snot, and coughing phlegm. None of that happens. Your body dries out. You don't have anything like that inside of you. You don't sneeze and none of that. Now, the reason you're coughing is because your body is struggling to breathe and it's trying to make your lungs work. But there's no sneezing. There's no snot. So if you see somebody look like they got a common cold or the flu, guess what? It's probably what they had. That's not COVID. So I tell people that all the time because every time somebody sneezes, cough, I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's not COVID. And I've talked to many people who have had it and we've exchanged symptoms because I wanted to know to make sure I was giving out the right information. And I'm sure you've probably seen some COVID cases or whatever, but just to share with you, if you see somebody and they've got snot flying and cold, that is not COVID. That is the common cold or the flu. Because like I said, you lose your sense of smell and taste. You don't eat, you don't drink, and you dehydrate. So there's nothing in there to blow out.
Right. Wow. Good grief.
Wow. Yeah. 2 reasons to celebrate this year.
Absolutely. This should be a blowout party affair.
I know.
You like my shirt?
All be I love it.
Got to show you the rest.
Yes.
Look, one of our viewers is sending you a happy birthday, Miss Hattie.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, so how do we get
for watching us? We appreciate you.
Thank you, Ashley Lane.
And we need one of those shirts, Miss Hattie, like really.
Yes.
We need one that says Hattie's team.
Right.
No, ladies in the locker room team. It's
like I'm Hattie and we're her team.
So no, you guys gonna have your name on them. This was made for me by Angela Nicole, who works with us in marketing. But I think I want everybody's name to kind of just be in a corner. Not just necessarily take over the whole front of the shirt, just kind of right over here in the corner, your name, and then the Ladies in the Locker Room logo in the back. And so we're working on that.
That's awesome.
So ladies, I know I jumped right in because I'm like so overwhelmed about the day, but introduce yourselves and tell everybody what's going on in your world today.
Oh, another happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Oscar.
Yes.
Oh, and he likes your shirt too. I think you might like what's under the shirt based when you gave it. Because we all know Miss Hattie's bringing sexy in, but thank you, Oscar.
We're bringing sexy back.
Well, I'll kick it off and say I'm Felicia from Houston, Texas, and I'm being a little messy today. So Deshaun Watkins may be traded to Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
Right. So, and in exchange,
Watson. You don't want him to stay there. It's called him Deshaun Watkins.
Watson. Sorry, my bad. But that's what I get for being petty. But I'm just
petty.
So maybe the Dolphins. Okay.
Maybe the Dolphins. I'll keep y'all updated on that.
It's updated. And Lindsay.
I'm Lindsay from Orange County, California. Today, there's so much going on in sports and Selection Sunday for NCAA basketball. Just before we got on the air, Drew Brees announced his retirement from football after 20 years. He started with the Chargers, and that's my team. So there's so much huge news. Tom Brady is staying. There's so much we can talk about tonight, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Angelique.
Angelique.
I am Angelique from Alpharetta, Georgia. And I normally cover, some NASCAR, although I don't mention that one sweet baby's name. That's some other info for everybody. And I'm going to hit on a little golf highlight. And that's it. It's been a busy week. I know no one really cares about my personal life, but I'm three.
Only if it's sports.
Yeah, it's kind of sports. No, I'm joking. It's not. So I'm going to hit on some highlights from today's NASCAR race and the golf results for today.
Very good. Well, normally, ladies, we go into a commercial, but what we're going to do is we're going to get ready and we're going to jump right in on your sports. And I'm not on your sports news. It's not necessarily a quickie. It's going to be some sports news. And we're going to start with Felicia, and then after Felicia will be Lindsay. And after Lindsay will be Angelique, and then I will go last. Okay. All right, Felicia, let's kick it off.
Well, I was digging the sports quickie, but I'm gonna let you make it on that one. But so I want to talk to you guys about the NFL's first Black female game official. I am so excited to report on this. For one, she is the second female NFL sports official, but the first Black female, and that is girl power and Black power for me. I'm so excited about that. It helps us as young ladies to see someone in that position and make us feel like this is something that we can do as well. So I'm super excited about that. She has a history. Her name is Maya Shaka, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She has a history working in the Pac-12 and the Conference USA, and also worked in the XL. So she's been around football her entire life. She's a graduate of Norfolk, Virginia, and she works as a phys ed teacher for the Virginia Beach Public School System. So sports and PE and health education has been her thing her entire life. So she loves working with children. She absolutely loves football. And what I loved about this story was a quote from Troy Vincent, who oversees the league football operations. And what he said was, as we celebrate Women's History Month, Maya is a trailblazer as the first Black female official and inspire us towards normalizing women in the football field. So why this excites me is because we're reporting on sports, and our goal is to hopefully be reporting at a higher level and be picked up by a network, and we're all women team. So maybe this helped nudge us in the right direction. So I'm super excited to report and celebrate Miss Maya Shaka. Thank you, Miss Hattie.
All right. Well, next is going to be Miss Lindsay.
So, like I mentioned before, it's Selection Sunday, which is a huge deal for the NCAA and basketball for women and men. But today was just the men, tomorrow's the women. Things have been crazy. As everybody knows, last year they didn't have their tournament. So this is even bigger. I mean, March Madness is huge, but it's even bigger this year since we didn't have it last year. So right before we got on the air, got online, they had their selections. And so Gonzaga is the #1 team overall, which is not surprising since they are the best. They really are the best team. They're undefeated. So if they win, it will be the first time since 1976 that an undefeated team won the tournament altogether. There's been some crazy stuff going on recently. Kansas, Virginia, and Duke both had to pull out of their conference tournaments due to COVID. They've had tested positive, and you have to show 7 consecutive days with 0 positive tests to be allowed to play. So they are they've picked the teams. They've picked 68 teams, but they do have reserves just in case a team has to pull out because of a positive test. They're going to be doing contact tracing, and they're going to be wearing anklet bracelets or bracelets that show who they've been in contact with. But at the same time, if everybody remembers that with the NBA, it was like a bubble, as in nobody could come in or out of that bubble. But with the NCAA, they're doing kind of a highly controlled environment, which is still good. However, it's not like as safe as the bubble, because things you could still catch, you could still get COVID, and that's clear with the 3 teams that had to drop out recently due to COVID issues, because it's not a foolproof plan. So like I was mentioning, Gonzaga's had an incredible season, but March Madness, you never know where things are going to go. So I'm going to keep you guys up on all of that. But I also kind of wanted to circle back a little bit for my during my quickie, because a couple weeks ago I did talk about the ball, like rule changes and the balls in baseball. And I wanted to tell you a little bit more about some of the rule changes that they're making. But they're doing it first. They're testing it out in the minors, usually what they do. And like specifically in AA, there's going to be a new rule that if you're trying to pick somebody off at first who's leading off, they can do it. They can throw the pitcher can throw the ball once, twice, but the third time, if they do not get that player out, they automatically get second base. And also another rule is the infielders have to have their feet on the dirt before or when the pitcher throws the ball. So that basically means that batters will have more options instead of just like cranking it out of the park every single time, because sometimes teams put their players who are in the infield in like the outfield area. So this will limit that, and kind of, I think overall what they're trying to do is get players and get more runners, get more action in the game, instead of like either you strike out or you get a home run. So with the balls changes, like they're going to be like not as easy to hit a home run as well. So I think baseball in general is trying to get a little bit more exciting, interesting as well. Some people they also are looking into doing robot umpires. So that kind of takes out a little bit of like the human error aspect. Like you can't yell at the umpire as much, which some people like to do. So that will take that out of the equation. But I think some of the other rules, in my opinion, are great. One last thing that I kind of wanted to hit on, Tom Brady, he signed another contract with the Bucks, but he did not ask for an increase he didn't renegotiate his contract in a way that made he like stayed within the like salary cap. So, but he's been known to do this. He kind of gives the teams like that he plays for a deal in a sorts. Like he is the MVP. He brought a Super Bowl to Tampa Bay, and he could totally ask for more money, renegotiate his contract. But what he does with all these players is he wants good players around him. So he is willing to not, because there's a salary cap. So he's willing to give up some of the money that he could ask for better players around him. So, which makes a lot of sense, but not a lot of football players do it. They always try to go for the most money. Like they, and so basically with Tom Brady, he didn't do that, and so he is. He signed for 4 years, or it's a 4-year contract, but the 3 years after that, they're easily voidable. But that is another kind of interesting story. We'll see if he can come back again and win another Super Bowl. But I mean, he is the greatest of all time, so you can ask him for as much money as he wants. But I kind of like the idea of him wanting good players, so he has a good team, so he can help whatever franchise he's involved in. I don't know how much more time I have, but I think one last thing, just because it like kind of impacts me because I'm a Charger fan, and it is, let's see exactly. So the Chiefs, they have lost a lot of their offensive line. And as we know, their offensive line is basically what lost them the Super Bowl. So, like Patrick Mahomes ran for more yards than anybody else in the entire game, except for it was all behind the line of scrimmage, which is just crazy in itself. 2 of their longtime starting tackles, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz, they left the team, or they were let go. And they're also thinking that their center, Austin Ryder, might leave as well. So that is going to give, or that's a huge, either gives them a big opportunity to build a better, really strong offensive line, because who wouldn't really want to play in front of Patrick Mahomes? I mean, if you were in that position, you would want to. So, and there were kind of a little bit of talks of how like Patrick Mahomes might renegotiate his contract as well, because, and kind of do what Tom Brady's doing, which is not, getting better players and not taking, because there's salary cap, like not taking as much money. So then other people, they can build a better team and get better players for him. So, I mean, we'll see who want to play for Andy Reid as well. So basically that's my, sports, not a quickie, but
Sports news.
like I said, there's so much going on. I didn't even hit all of it, but we'll come back, because there's just I'm just like so excited right now, because there's so many good stories I couldn't even pick. So,
well, I want to touch on the thing with Tom Brady a little bit, because it just really shows. Of course, he's definitely not in it for the money, because he's made a lot.
Right.
And he loves the game. And he's a smart enough player to understand that he can't win a game by himself. So he is smart enough to stay under the salary cap so they can bring him in the help that he needs to win a Super Bowl, which was what he did last year by bringing in Gronk and just bringing in the wide receivers. He pretty much got whatever he asked for. And in order to stay in that position, he has to stay below the salary cap. And it's a smart move on his part. And to me, that just gives me a lot more respect for him as a player, because that is what it takes. If it's one player demanding all the money and they want all of this money and that's it and that's all, okay, so like some quarterbacks will get in there, nobody's blocking for you because you're making all the money. Right. Nobody's helping you out. So I think he's been in the game long enough to know how to do this and how to do it right. And I believe that's why he's had the success that he's had. And I believe that's why he had the success he had last year with Tampa Bay.
Exactly. And they trust him to make those decisions because he is making a sacrifice. I mean, he can ask, greatest quarterback of all time. He can ask for what he wants, but I think they respect him enough. Obviously, he's earned it, but also by showing that he's a team player and he's here because he's wanting to like not just make money, he wants to make the team better. I mean, he takes care of his body like he is a machine. I think, I don't know, it was like 25. I was trying to find it, but he like drinks 25 glasses of water a day. It's just he just
the machine.
That's how he can play this long. Like
that's what they call him, the machine. So
if you notice, one of our viewers said something about Tom Brady staying, but Drew Brees is leaving. But it flashed too fast for me to read the rest. So.
That's Oscar.
Oh,
that's our fan, Oscar.
Oscar.
There we go. Oh, Watson can stay. Dolphins guy. Oh, okay. Roll Tide. Yeah, roll Tide for
Roll
real.
Tide. Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
They're not going to break into Sweet Home Alabama.
Absolutely.
Musical interlude.
Right.
Well, they do have Tua, but of course they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket because look what happened. His first year out, he got hurt, and they were dependent on him to just make it happen. But then when he got hurt, he couldn't make it happen. So any smart franchise will understand you cannot put everything on one player. You've got to be able to sustain the whole team, and it's got to be a team effort, which really kind of drives me crazy when someone goes out and the backups have to come in, and the backups are not good enough. I'm almost like, why are we paying them? Why are they making money?
Right.
Why are they making any money? I don't even need you on my team if I can't call on you and you can't get in there and do the job. Now, yes, you may not be as good as the other guy, but you daggone sure better be acting like an NFL player. And so I would be probably the worst owner ever. I'm like, he's done. Get rid of him.
Well, that's what happened. Like with the Chiefs, like they had the makeshift, offensive line look what happened at the Super Bowl. It was the worst they played. So makeshift. They had multiple players out, and like I said, I can't believe when I heard that he ran for more yards than anybody else in the entire Super Bowl, but it was all behind the line of scrimmage. And you're just like, my gosh, like
back there running around. He was running for his life.
He was
running. He was running for his life.
I would race.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that information with us today, Lindsay. All right, we're moving on to Anjali.
Yes, and not to let Lindsay show me up. Right before we were live, I would like to say there was a result in the NASCAR race today. Martin Truex Jr. won Instacart 500 victory, and it was quite the winless streak, unfortunately, that he broke today. So yay for him. Like he killed it. In NASCAR as well, next week, what we can look forward to there is, love this whole thing, the Folds of Honor 500. And I guess I should also mention it's the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. Don't want to leave out their sponsor. But the Folds of Honor is such a great organization to help veterans as they return back from combat, help their families, and help them adjust back to life once they're back. So, I mean, we definitely, I say, support the Folds of Honor. Love that NASCAR's partnered, whatever, with them and with Quick Trip. And who doesn't love some Quick Trip? My gosh, those drink choices are phenomenal. Okay, let's get on to golf and do a swing. Also today, we had another winner. That would be Justin Thomas. Yay, Justin. He won the Players' Championship today. So good for him. Check that out. He's killing it. And next week, we're going to have the Honda Championship coming up in the golf tournament world. So we'll be looking forward to see who's going to kill it there. And also, definitely keep an eye on the winners for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip NASCAR 500. So that's it for me this week. Thank you, guys.
You are so welcome. Thank you. Well, that's good to know. You are definitely keeping up with what's going on in NASCAR and the NAS world. You're right. It's always a lot. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that we get down there and we get a chance to go to the races and get down in the pit and cover
I'm in.
get down to the Atlanta, Georgia Motor Speedway and get a chance to check out the races. I think it's going to be really interesting. And yes, of course, Quick Trip being a sponsor is a big deal.
Yeah.
Very, very big deal. And I love the different companies. Now, is Bubba Watson going to be racing? Because I think he left his old sponsor and is going to go drive for Michael Jordan's company or something like that. I heard.
Wow.
No, I'm pulling you up on my NASCAR
Research.
Well, we need to research that and check that out because
because you're making me like, what?
I know, because I know last year they had the whole
It's
thing.
Bubba. I mean, see, I'm thinking Bubba Watson. He's a golfer.
No, not that one.
No.
It's
No.
Bubba, though.
It's a race car one. See,
Yes.
I'm doing golf and NASCAR.
No,
Woo!
no, it's the golfer. It's the NASCAR guy,
Bubba.
not the golf.
What are
Not the
chances
golf.
in my segment I have two Bubbas to follow?
Right.
Girl, I must be so southern.
I think there's quite a few bubbles in Georgia
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And Texas.
and Texas.
Gotta love the Bubba.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to that. I really, really hope that we can get down there and get some great footage and just continue to introduce the world that don't know about NASCAR. We want to bring it from the ladies in the locker room perspective. We want to get
Yeah,
down there.
I like it every week because I don't follow it as closely as you do.
Right.
So I'm like, ooh, what's my
and
new
you know
like
Baby, what's his name? You know,
Right.
I wasn't saying it. I
baby
was
Jeff
saying
Gordon.
it.
sweet baby.
baby
what's his
Jeff
name?
Gordon. Jeff Gordon.
But I didn't say it. I'm maintaining my relationship on this show, and I'm not saying it out loud.
Okay,
So
don't say that.
thanks.
I'll say it for you. I'll say it for you.
But also, I will say, just on a side note, NASCAR has quite the lovely selection of women's attire. I might be sporting some of that in the future.
Well, feel free to send us all something to sport.
Exactly.
We'll wear it for
Like
you.
cute little dresses. Like, oh, I got quite the shopping bag full. I was going to talk to Hattie, make sure it was okay to wear my NASCAR stuff because it does
No
not
flag.
signify. It doesn't say anything about sweet baby.
Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon.
It's just flat out NASCAR. I'm going to go.
Well, we're a family show, so just make sure.
Oh, it's not that sexy.
Okay, I just gotta check. I just had to check. I had to check. Well, all right. Thank you so
I'll
much
take
for
that for
sharing
the
that
track.
with us. I've got my news is a bit sad. Let's see if I can pull this up for you here. I've got something to show you. If I can. All right. So the boxing world took a blow to the gut yesterday when it was announced that marvelous Marvin Hagler had passed away at age 66. Now, this sad news was shared with the world through Facebook by his wife. No details concerning his death have been announced. Marvin became the undisputed middle heavyweight champion in 1980, and he defended his belt 12 times. Now, he got the name Marvelous from a journalist once, but the announcers would not call him Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So he just decided, let me just go change my name to Marvelous. And so he became Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, he held that belt for many years until his fight with Sugar Ray Leonard in 1987. Now, that was Leonard's last, that was Hagler's last professional fight. His record was 62-3-2 with 52 KOs.
He's
And
a
in
beauty.
Yes, he was handsome. And in 1993, Hagler was indicted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, also known to have the greatest 3 minutes in boxing history. Because the fight between him and Thomas Hitman Hearns was such a slugfest. For those 3 minutes, that's what they call it, the greatest 3 minutes in boxing history. It definitely was a major hit, to the gut, to the boxing world. He was an all-time champion, very well known to celebrities and internationally known. He was born in Newark, New Jersey in 1954. And as I stated, his wife posted this sad news. And he was definitely loved by all. And Marvin Hagler, as I said, his last fight, I think was so devastated because Sugar Ray Leonard won by a decision. And many people say that Marvin won that fight, but because Sugar Ray won by decision, I think that was a blow to his gut, and it just took the steam out of him, and it took the life out of his respect and understanding for the game. He never fought again. That was his last fight.
Gosh.
Against Sugar Ray Leonard, who we all know pound for pound was one of the best boxers in his weight class as well. But that one right there, it was a tough pill for him to swallow. He retired after that. He defended, as I said, his belt 12 times. And he had many fights with some of the best fighters in the game, but his record shows, and he had 52 knockouts.
Wow.
Yeah. So the world is going to mourn marvelous Marvin Hagler at 66 years old. He died yesterday on March the 13th.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just going to be another, and we don't know. I have not heard any details about how he died and if he had been sick or whatever. I hadn't heard anything yet, so we'll just have to wait and see. But
you take that many hits to
Right.
your head. I mean, there's a lot of ways. Like, I mean, even with football players when they're getting like CTE with their brains, they just, like, scientists after they pass away, they see all the gray matter, and you just how many times you get hit. I'm like, if I got hit once in the head, I would be like, all right, I'm done.
I heard a story about Jerome Bettis, who's one of my favorites, about all of the medication that he needs to get up and get going each day from the pain that his body that he goes through every single day. So I can only imagine for a boxing standpoint, that's a lot.
And you're right.
Right. From doing all the sports that I've done, plus an operating room nurse and picking up patients, equipment, and all of that. Now that I'm not as clinical, my body hurts every day. So I can only imagine.
Oh, mine does too. From all my friends, like, who played like college sports, were just all like, wait, like, why do we like ache? We have like arthritis in our knees, our back. Like, we're all just like, oh my gosh, we feel so old. And like,
no, baby,
maybe I just didn't play hard enough because I don't have those problems. I just don't know. I don't know.
You're coming there with all them remedies and mixing up stuff. You're not telling us.
I know the garlic and the.
Let me tell you, speaking of that, I absolutely, I talk about this all the time. For those of you who don't know, and I have on no makeup, I just thought about that. I have on no makeup. I didn't have time. I have on no makeup. I didn't have time to put it in.
Let's be a show off on your birthday, right?
Oh,
I know.
I don't have makeup either. Thank you.
I didn't have any time to put any on.
Didn't even notice.
Me either.
Well, here's my thing. Throughout my life, I've always been motivated to talk about sports in kids, youth sports. And I really, and I honestly, and I totally believe that because I was such an athlete at a young age, because I was trained at a young age to take care of my body and eat right, to be stronger, and I did. I'm happy to say that today, my birthday, I turned 65 years old.
Unbelievable.
65. And no, I've never had any work done. They're all real. I know where angels are. They're homegrown angels.
She's all show off today. I'm 65. I look gorgeous, and they're real. Just mine
That's
too.
What she said.
Someone said it's the only thing they didn't have to pay for. So, all right.
But so I've always motivated young people to play sports in school. I was absolutely devastated when they took gym like out of school, where it's not a necessary thing to happen anymore. I'm like, are you kidding? That's why American kids are getting so fat and so out of shape. You have to want to be an athlete nowadays to stay in shape. But because if you don't want to be an athlete and you don't want to go work out, a lot of our American kids are eating bad stuff and gaining a lot of weight. So, but I've always attributed my athleticism and my health to the fact that I played youth sports. So I'm always an advocate and promoting youth sports because I know for a fact that it did help me. I played sports from 12 to 35. I played organized ball. And even at 35, I moved and I just didn't find another team to get on. Right. But I played organized sports all those years and I loved it. And like I said, I am proud to say my knees are fine. I don't have a lot of aches and pains, but Lord, when we were talking about especially boxers, all those blows to the head, I mean, when they talk about even with Marvin Hagler and the greatest 3 minutes in boxing, when they talk about just that, if you watch that, it was a slugfest. They hit each other so much and so many times in those 3 minutes. And that's why they were given that title of having the greatest 3 minutes in boxing, because it was, I mean, blow for blow, hit, you hit, I hit. It was a real slugfest. And so when I think about stuff like that, like you said about the football players in the bed, they have helmets on. Yes, they do get hit, but not so many times in a row. And of course, with Muhammad Ali and what happened to him, they talked about that. They talked about that all the time. But he would always say, "I'm too pretty, so I ain't let him hit me in my face a lot." But toward the end of his career, he got hit the most. But yeah,
that was the biggest fear for me, because my son, the Giant, he's been boxing since he was 6 years old, but I did it for the sport, the exercising component of it, because he's such a big boy, and he would keep asking me, "I want to spar, I want to fight." I'm like, no, because I'm really worried about that. He's like, "Well, they're not going to hit me." I was like, "Eventually somebody will."
I thought the same thing, because my son Grant is a 2nd-degree black belt. And when we would go to competitions and they would do sparring, I mean, some of those kids, like you would think, oh, it's karate, they'll be fine. We actually did a tournament in Florida one time, and they always have, EMS on site. They had to call EMS because of a sparring incident. And I'm just like, no, not my baby.
Well, but my daughter wasn't
him. He's not that aggressive. To get into
karate, and she did hurt somebody, and that terrified me. And then my son hit someone in football and knocked his shoes off his feet. So I just
it happens.
That scares me.
So yeah, there's a lot of suggestions like don't put your child too young into like football. Tackle football, not keep them in flag football until certain age, and just because your brain is still developing. Your brain develops until you're 25 years old. So, especially when they're younger, though, like if constantly hitting.
Tiny tykes. I love to see the little tiny tykes. They're just rolling around on each other anyway. It's funny.
But some of those coaches, once they see that a kid can hit, they don't teach them how to hit. They just want them to railroad people, and hit them. And that's what they were doing with my son. I had to take him off of a team because they used how big he was, and he's very strong. So when he would hit, he would hurt people. So I had to explain to him, you can't do that. And so I took him off the team and told him, if you're not going to teach him how to hit correctly, then he's not playing.
Look at this. We've got like a little piece of info from Oscar talking about on CTE, head-to-head is just a piece of the on-field trauma. A 250-pounder moving at a sub 5.0 speed is going to hit with the impact of a truck moving at highway speed.
Oh, wow.
Is that you guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Oscar. That tells me my son should never play football.
Right. So I just canceled his registration. So
yeah, he's tall enough. He should be playing basketball anyway. So we're going to run with that.
Right.
Well, they're changing a lot of rules as well. College and even in the NFL, but college and in high school football, a lot of rules are being changed. And so you can't, hit somebody below, where they used to be able to just hit them below the knees and just wipe them out, or like head to head. You can't hit
changing. They're changing lots of rules. They are.
Yeah. That happened with my brother. They we had a rival team, and they had at the rival team had a whole bet on who could hurt him, because my brother was they couldn't catch him. He was the fastest, and he was almost the fastest in the state of Texas. So he played football and he ran track. So the bet was to hurt him so he couldn't play football or run track anymore. So one guy hit him so hard he flew almost to the track, and he did not get up for a while. So they do things like that. It's terrifying.
It is terrible, especially when they do it with kids. Same thing happened to my son. My elder son played football for a little while, and the rival team, there was one team in particular who went around the city gathering all the best players. They were recruiting all the best players. They were stacking the deck for their team, and they shouldn't have been allowed to do that, but they did.
Right.
My son, he was just little honest John. He's like, I don't want to play with them. I don't like that, what they've done. I'm just going to play with the team that's right here in my backyard. So he did. But when they got into the game, the coach personally targeted my son because my son wouldn't play for him. So he sent all his biggest guys, and they gang tackled my son, and they bruised his lung. They hit him so hard, it hit his lung. And that was, of course, that was my son's last day playing, but it was also the coach's last day coaching. Because I went down and I reported it to the city, and it was not fair. You know, if a kid doesn't want to play on your team, you don't stack up a bunch of other kids and go do damage to another kid. That's not the message that needs to be sent to the kids. Football is already, like you say, it's already tough enough, and there's always a possibility that some kid's going to get hurt. There's always that possibility, it's already there. But to set it up where you're purposely hurting kids is definitely not the message that needs to be sent at any.
I mean, that kind of almost goes to like what I was talking about with Tom Brady getting his O-line, like giving up money to make sure that his team, especially his offensive line, when like he's willing to give up money to have a good offensive line. And because he wouldn't be able to play that long if he was continuously getting hit. Like Rivers was our quarterback for years, right after Drew Brees, actually. And there's some seasons that I was just like, my gosh, like it's hard to watch this. Like, I don't want to turn it off, but it's hard to watch it because our offensive line was so bad that he just kept getting like hit so hard every single game. And you're just like,
and that's what's going to happen. And that's why a lot of the quarterbacks like the Michael Vicks and even in Kansas City, they talk about how many yards they get running, and also in Maryland, Lamar Jackson. They talk about these quarterbacks and how much yards they got running. They got to run. They don't always have the option to stand in the pocket and throw the ball. Now, Tom Brady and even Drew Brees, those are quarterbacks that had that option. They had some good O-lines, like you said, that gave them, that allotted them the opportunity to stand in the pocket, find their wide receivers, and deliver. But a lot of quarterbacks don't have that option. So they want to win. So they're willing to run. They're not going to just stand around and not let it happen or just ditch the ball on the ground. They're going to really get out here and try to get those yards and win the game.
Especially when you're older too, when like older quarterbacks, and I mean,
can't do all of that no more.
The game has changed a lot. So now like quarterbacks are moving a lot more, not just because of age, but just because the game's changed. But you're right, like they don't always have that option, and they're just getting hit so much. You're just like, oh my gosh, like this can't be good for the like long term.
What I'm thinking is, I think to summarize the whole thing with Tom Brady, he epitomizes the phrase, there's no I in team.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And if everyone had that same attitude, they might have the same success.
True.
But he has a lot of skill too. I'm not saying that. But yeah, I mean,
well, when you have a person like that, you have a great leader, then people are going to follow. They're going to do everything they can. And that's what everything we do in life. Yep. They're going to protect their leader. I mean, as a nurse director, I never had to go in for a shift if we had call outs. My staff took care of me. You know, I took care of them. So they took care of me.
No I in team, my friends.
Speaking of that, you should figure out or find out some of the gifts these quarterbacks send to their O-line.
Right.
Lexus, you know, watches, Rolexes and cars, and they give out some pretty nifty gifts. Well, anyway, ladies, our time is up. It has been a phenomenal evening. Thank you guys for doing such a great job. Thank you, Oscar and Ashley, for watching and sending in, the information. We love it. And for those of you at home, please log in, send us some information. If you find out something, if we miss something, let us know. We have a motto. We always say, we're not women who think we know everything about sports. What is it, lady? We just
know the men that
do. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week at 8:00. Thank you again, ladies. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Everybody.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you.